In this presentation, we will discuss about women's right to property ownership and the role of education to promote and to ensure the right of property ownership for women. The ownership of property by women has evolved significantly over time, and the whole process of ownership of property by women is shaped by different components, including cultural, legal, and other developmental changes in the society. Historically, women had very limited rights to property ownership in many societies around the world. In various societies and culture and the countries and communities, property rights were predominantly granted to men, and women often had restricted access to owning land and real estate and other form of properties, including the cash, golds, and others. However, the advancement, the development in societies and human rights, changes in the legislation in the various countries, this have led to more equitable property ownership for women in many countries. Historically, the property laws and cultural norms often excluded or even marginalized women from owning properties. In many societies, women's property rights were tied to their marital status, and when they get married, they will lose property rights. But over time, legal reforms and movements advocating for gender equality and women's rights have led to changes in laws relating to property ownership. And many countries have implemented laws to grant women equal rights to own and inherit properties. Similarly, the societal attitudes have gradually shifted towards recognizing and supporting women's rights. And there has been an increased recognition of importance of empowering women, not only from the perspective of education, not only from the perspective of laws, but also from the perspective of economy. This means that until and unless women are economically empowered and independent, the transformation that lead women to contribute to the societies will be minimum or rare. So a significant changes have taken place in any inheritance law that have played a crucial role in ensuring that women have the right to inherit on property, whether it's land or houses or businesses or other assets, on an equal basis with men. And in order to speed up this kind of process, various initiatives have been taken place. So the various organizations, including the education institutions, non-governmental organizations, and women's organization as well, work towards empowering women economically, including the formal programs that educate women about their property rights and support their access to and ownership of the property. Despite all these progresses, there are still challenges and that persist in many parts of the world. Uh, Challenges persist regarding the due to the cultural norms and discriminatory practices, law of awareness about legal rights, and inadequate implementation and reinforcement of laws that could hinder women's access to the property ownership. So the efforts today continue to promote and safeguard women's property rights worldwide. And recognizing and enforcing these rights not only empower women economically but also contribute to the overall empowerment, social well-being, and gender equality. So, if we summarize the women participations and their rights to the property ownerships, the legal provisions and rights are fundamental because that ensures women to own, control, and inherit property. So the fundamental requirements or considerations is the legal provisions. So if we look into the legal provisions globally, there are differences, there are variations that that provide certain rights in some countries, while there are some restrictions in others. So the fundamental question is why women are still denied the rights to the property ownership. This is the questions that we have to discuss from the perspective of the legal, cultural, social, and other biases. So there are differences from one community to another regarding all these sorts of variations. So as a student, you should assess through some sort of research or through some sort of surveys and looking into the documents, policy and legal documents, to see the variations, to see the development, to see the changes, and to see the hindrances that affect women to engage in the kind of movements to ensure properties. So if we discuss what are the barriers of property ownership movements, I ask you to list some sort of barriers that prevail in your community. So I just ask you to list some of the points, some of the things that are crucial in your societies. That may be some of the points that reflect in all kinds of societies. For example, some of the points I have listed here that are the barriers throughout the societies. So uh, I allow you a minute to list if these barriers still prevail in your societies. You can confirm the barriers and add other barriers that you think prevail in your communities. So take your time, or just 1 minute, to list out, to confirm these points, and add more what you think is still a barrier to women's property ownership in your societies. Next, uh, we'll, we'll discuss about the changes and the strategies. Changes and strategies that contribute to the movement of the property ownership by women. So, the as I as I informed already, the fundamental changes that requires to ensure women property ownership is the legal reform. And the practices that have been in place in different societies that should be somehow changed in order to promote equality in property ownership between men and women, because in many communities women are denied the right of land when they get married, because this is considered as a right to men only. In many countries, women have right to land until they get married. For example, if a woman remains single, not married, so in this condition only they have right to get land. So the customary practices are to be changed. And the third and important issues is education and awareness. The education is a strong vehicle, or the movement that can make people aware about the equality, inequity, justice, injustice, and all these issues. So through education, we can gradually improve the way the situation prevail in different countries. So education and awareness campaigns play a vital role in informing women about their property rights, and empowering women with knowledge about their legal rights enable them to assert their claims to property and advocate for themselves. And another important issue is financial inclusion. That means improving women's access to financial service and credit facilities definitely enables them to invest in and acquire properties. So financial inclusion programs tailored for women support their economic independence and ability to to properties. And regarding the legal provision, the land registrations and land titling is a way through which land ownership can be provided to the group of women. So inheritance right, this is also a social and legal issue that should be ensured. Social norms and cultures and attitude that should also be changed in favor of women, and this will happen in a very gradual way. So community engagement, support, capacity building, skills development, and different form of strategy and works. For example, collaboration between government, civil societies, organization, in international bodies that could promote women's property rights and ensure their enforcement. And equally important is the access to legal aid services and support networks for the women who have been facing challenges in claiming their property rights. So providing legal assistance ensures that women have resources and support in cases of property disputes. So regarding the legal provision, we can see different kinds of legal systems and laws that ensure property ownership of women. So as a student, you can review your legal provision or legal system in your societies, considering what kinds of acts, regulations ensures the equal right to land and other properties for men and women. So, for example, there are several laws, rules, and regulations in different countries. So there are some variations. So this is the matter that you have to delve into. So equal inheritance rights, that ensures the property inheritance from older generation to younger generation. Some, for example, from father and mothers to their son and daughters. And when they get married, what happens? So there are marital property laws that talks about, that ensures, that tells how women property ownership could be changed when they get married. And there are other land tenure reforms as well, property registration systems that also ensures women's right to registration and other kind of land ownerships. And equally important is the access to credit and loans when they use their land documents as a property. And when women get divorced and, for example, become widow because of several reasons or death of their spouse, there should be laws that should protect against displacement. So the right should be there. So another important thing to ensure by the laws is the protection from discrimination. And the fundamental provisions is awareness and education. So there are different kinds of reforms and the rights, laws are in place. But the important point is access to legal aid service is important to support women for claiming their property rights. So providing legal assistance is really important while considering this sort of rights to women. So definitely when women's are provided right to ownership, there are several benefits, and you can list these benefits. First, and the very important thing is that they feel empowered and safe when they have legal right to the properties. They become educated, they become empowered. So this is very important. They become resilient, they become healthy, nourished. So these are the very fundamental things when women are provided the right to the property. So economic independence is one of the fundamental requirements for women to become empowered, or to become a change agent in the society. So this is very much important. So having discussed this sort of provisions about women's property rights, now I would like you to provide a classroom activities that you will engage. So I will divide you into groups, and I will give you some distinct roles to each of your groups. So I'll divide you into 3 groups, and I will provide you the roles. For example, one group will act as a role of legislators. So what policies, what kind of laws, acts are necessary to be formed and passed through the constitutional bodies. Another group will act as a rights activist, women's rights activist, and this group should advocate and lobby for certain kinds of rules, laws, and regulations. And the third group will act as community leaders, whose role is different. Do you understand? So I'll divide the whole class into 3 groups, and each group should play a role. So it's a kind of role playing. So you will work in your group, discuss among their peers, discussing about your own role. So the first group of students should act as a role of legislators. So you should basically focus on the laws, acts, and regulations. So as a legislator, what policies you want to formulate and pass through the constitutional bodies, right? And the second group act as a role of women rights activist. So as an activist, your role should be advocacy, lobbying. So what kinds of advocacy you want to do? So what kinds of voice you want to raise? This is your role. So you will discuss within your groups and list out some of the activities, advocacy activities, or any kinds of short-term empowerment training or whatever. And the last group, the third group, will act as a community leaders, maybe a politicians or civil societies or any kinds of members in the society. So what do you think essential? So as a role of community leaders, you could uh, educate the people, you could lead the people, may do some campaign or do some advocacy kind of things as well. So your role and activist role may overlap in some points. So I will allow you to participate in a simulation or in a kind of group work in which you will discuss, negotiate, and write new laws or do some advocacy training or bring about some kind of policies or programs to encourage women's property ownership. So you have to bring up with some proposal, right? What you want to do as an activist, as a legislator, and as a community leader. So you should be clear that some of the roles can overlap, right? Because legislators' role can be supported by the activists as well as by the leaders. So some of the things that you can propose something similar. This doesn't matter. Anyway, now you will work in your group, 3 different group, act as a role of legislator, activist, and community leader, and participate in a group work, discussion, and come up with something that may be advocacy, that may be training, that may be laws or policies, that may be some sort of activities to engage community people and to ensure that your effort encourage women's property ownership. And there are some international laws and agreements. I have just included some of the fundamental international laws and agreement. That's Beijing Platform for Actions and Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, and the Millennium Development Goal, especially Goal 1 on eradicating extreme poverty, and Goal 3 on gender equality. So you can discuss any kinds of property, particularly the 2 kinds of property. One is movable properties, or you can sell is an object that can be relocate from one place to another, or another immovable property. And regarding the global scenario, you can see the green zone are better than the orange and red zone, and basically the Africa and South Asian region are the poor region that is still have to work towards ensuring the right of properties by women. So you have other documents or other things as well. So you can watch the video, that you can click on these slides and watch the video and discuss the following questions when you complete your group work. And the fundamental question after watching the video are what are the properties women could own legally, what are the opportunities and barriers for women to have property ownership, and in what ways to do property ownership right to ensure women empowerment, particularly in your country. There are some informations that are available. So if women are educated, they will have access to information. They become economically independent, so they feel empowered, and they can make decisions by themselves, and they also learn advocacy skills. Once they get education, they can convince or make other women equally knowledgeable about the rights and the issues. So, because of this education, this is a little bit longer process. This reduce women's vulnerability, strengthen community ownership. So, as Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. This is the only way to empower women and to enable them to claim their property rights and ensure that they will have resources and access and support in case of like property disputes. So implementing all these strategy and sustaining efforts towards gender equality in property in ownership requires not a single but a multifaceted approach involving legal, social, economic, and cultural dimension, and to include all these dimension into a system, education can contribute to each of these components. So ongoing commitment and collaboration at various levels are essentials for achieving lasting changes in women's property and ownership. So these are the references that you can read and review so that you can improve or strengthen your argument, knowledge, and your thoughts, your positions regarding the property ownership by women. Thank you.